Hello, jackoffs. This is my steely, big, girthy, tanky, big dick daddy guide for the Temple of Slaughter. So we'll be playing through a run that people would categorize as a speed run. Now, this is highly based on how good the players are and their level of gear. So I will be showing 3 variations of the speed run based on what you may be encountering yourselves, because sometimes you're pugging, sometimes you're just doing party matchmaking. You don't really know sometimes the caliber of players and how they know how the aggro mechanics work in this game, but nevertheless, we will go through. So pretty standard. You just want to essentially hug the mobs, taunt, and then when you can, use your grappling hook to pull or smash them at any point you can. Use your shield, strike to pull them against the walls and stun them. The gigantic moonstone, that is a tank fee that is supposed to be yours and no one else's. Now in this room area here, you have to kill all 7 mobs in order to touch the mana or the water pump, whatever the hell. So if a team is organized, you can start on one side all the way to the right, pull every mob towards the end, and then blow them up. But oftentimes, they're just going, DPS or just brain dead are going to be attacking the mobs, so do your best to group them up and then smash them against the wall to stun. But again, ideally, you're pulling, once aggro is established, you're moving on to the next pack, taunting, and using your abilities. I'm more than happy to make a tank guide, tank build for those that may be interested in. For this is just the, how to do the run. So, right there, as you can see, grab all aggro on each. Everything's nice and clumped. So that the DPS and heals can all be in one area, which is ideal. Again, if someone tags a mob and you're running, try to hook them with the chain. Other than that, it's pretty much easy peasy. This is nothing to do with a speed strat. Again, you'd start on that side of the wall and then run all the way to that side, and then tank and spank and blow everything up there. Now, when you pull up the water, force people to go on this side, the left side of the map. That way you can just drop down and then skip this part. You're going to be skipping these mobs. They're not important. And then you're going to land here. And if you are very coordinated, you can have someone actually on the other side and actually pull all the mobs towards you. But again, that never fucking happens. Like, you're just going to have to deal it the old-fashioned way. But I like starting with these guys. So there you go. They'll be summoning dogs, and then that's a good way to get as much AoE aggro as you can. As you can see, it's a clean tanking, right? It's an issue when, of course, mobs are running around everywhere. You just do your best to hook the mobs that are, away, and try to push mobs so that they're grouped, right? Using the wall right here, I try to hook. There you go, they're hooked. And now you can try to taunt and get everything clustered. And then here, hopefully I'm not an idiot. And, you can certainly, again, push them against the wall to stun. There is a skill specialization, which actually, when you use that dash, precision dash, to combine targets, that often is a very good skill, specialization to have. It's 10 points, though, so it is pretty heavy. But as you can see, rinse and repeat. There's nothing fancy here being done. So here I'm asking, what kind of skip are we doing? So there's 3 types of skips. One is you're just pulling all the mobs, heading right towards the boss, and then exploding everything. The other is a suicide run, where you basically take the aggro and you're running around in order for the rest of the team to kill the boss, and then you suicide and spawn at the final boss. And then the third is kind of the more, you're pulling mobs, hugging the wall, and seeing, and and pulling mobs based on what you think your team can do. Anyway, so here you always want to stick to the side of the river. You're going to pull the mobs. You're going to wait now for the dog to come. Then you're simply going to push them over the edge, and they're dead. For this, you can certainly tag the mob. Wait for the pat to move ahead, so you don't pull them. Right? You can grab him and then bring him back. LOS, line of sight, and then he'll kind of teleport or move towards you. And then you can simply fight the boss here. That way you're mitigating the need to attack. You don't want to... You're trying to flow through this as fast as possible, right? So, you're not allowed to push this guy into the water. So, you're just going to tank him here and hold aggro. There's going to be a fire, dot that he applies to everyone. That's a healer issue. You can certainly help use your Da Vinci's Courage to help heal at clutch moments. As you can see, you can certainly pull chain that mob and then, punch him into the water if you'd like. In this case, I just left him and away from the aggro radius. Tank and spank, and that's pretty much it. Help the healer with the Da Vinci's Courage, heal yourself for the time where he applies the dot on everyone, the fire dot. And that's it, pretty much tank and spank. I mean, there's not many mechanics in these dungeons, so... but anyways, you can see everyone's burned. Save your Da Vinci Resolve for that point in time. See, here it comes up. If I'm not an idiot, I should be using it. Well, I guess I was. So, this first strat, this is kind of where the whole speed strat comes into play, or your largest involvement. This is going to be the Zerg Strat, okay? So make sure you're not out of stamina, or, when you do this, you're going to fly towards the ledge there on the right. And if your team is not stupid, they should be flying there as well. This is where you want to sit, right? And you want to wait for the whole team to get there, because essentially you're going to jump up again and dodge all the mobs that you see down there, right? So this guy obviously doesn't get it. And then there you go. You can simply, right, pass all the mobs there, so you don't have to pull them. Of course they did, bro, right? So, deal with that. You got a lot of wall here to push them in and kind of, and glump them up. And that's the sound of a good tank. Now, the aggro mechanic is weird. There is no aggro table. It's not like World of Warcraft. It'd be nice to have a threat table, right? It'd be nice to color code the mobs, like yellow if you're about to lose threat, red if you don't have them from a nameplate perspective. Mods, get on it for us tanks, because it's very difficult sometimes to ascertain how much threat you have on a mob, and it's largely more who kind of hits the mob first than building up aggro. I found anyway. It's not as crisp as, more threat aggro on something you pull. So anyway, we're gonna do the Zerg Strat here. So make sure everyone's glumped up and ready, and you have to be ahead. Now, your team should not be attacking any single mob or healing or any sort of abilities that would pull that aggro. It just makes this completely fucked up. So anyway, always hug the right. There's no point of pulling the whole room. And, you're not leveling up or getting XP or any mats from this. So pull as little mobs as possible. You're going to be hugging the right. Right? This pat, again, maybe on the left side. Don't worry about it. Just keep pulling. Now, you can certainly, grab this and establish some type of threat if you'd like, right? Taunt here. Here I got stunned. So it's always good to kind of taunt right away. Wait for your team. And then here, I realized they're pulling towards the boss. And now you're just going to pull towards the boss yourself. Ideally, you're just sprinting right towards the boss. And they're, and it should be good. And then that's it. Clump everything in the middle here. And do your best to Zerg everything down. This will require a team that does big dick damage. There's no way about it, right? So do your best in grabbing aggro. I could have chain pulled that guy that's ahead, but as long as the boss is stunnable, is very good. And other than that, he summons dogs, and he typically summons it around where he's placed. So place yourself, more towards the boss, and then use your AoE abilities for when the dogs spawn. And that's it. Pretty clean tank and spank. It's not much to it. So we're going to position ourselves now to the next strat. The next strat is a suicide tank run. So this is, you know, I prefer this one right here. I just prefer not being the pawn. But again, if you did want to kite mobs, this is how it would typically work. So again, you're ignoring everything. Again, hopefully they're not using any spells or abilities or anything like that. You want to grab a little bit more mobs just in case your idiot team pulls anything, right? And you'll notice that, well, this team still ended up pulling something. But this is basically it. Just pull more of the room because you're just trying to limit the amount of mobs they may mistakenly pull, and they're going to go directly to your boss. You're not, so you're going to go down. You can feel free to attack mobs or even pull them here. I should have used my chain on this guy. I didn't. I don't know why. I think I was just trying to stun him. Anyway, I just decided while I'm in danger, using your courage, you know, skill and your right counter barrier skill to keep you alive. And then at this point, you're just essentially running away and buying yourself time to live. As you can see, one of our guys died. Ideally, you have a secondary kind of great sword, maybe tank for this, so that they can tank the boss. But it shouldn't be an issue for a team to do this. This is probably my at least favorite strat, but it is a strat nonetheless that some people do, right? So here you're gonna kind of path all the way back, right? And then, you know, it's what you can do is, of course, using your dashes, precision dashes, and your shield dash, and you can essentially kite crash right around here, drop down. That lines of sight's a lot of mobs, and you can see I'm alive forever. You can literally stay alive forever for that team to do their job. In this case, they did not. So I would say if you're in a team and you're in party matchmaking, set it to above, you know, 2,000 at least, or 2,200. 2,000 is safer to do the Zerg Strat, and it's not many mobs, right? This is more complicated. You don't have a tank that's actually tanking the boss, so you need a bruiser type, you know, great sword guy, you know, to tank the boss when you're not. So anyway, you would basically die once they kill the boss, and you would then teleport directly to the final boss. And then finally, the final strat is the more slower type pull. Again, you're going to be in front. All right, you're going to try to grab the mobs, but you're not pulling so much the whole room. It's very much similar to a Zerg Strat, but you're not going directly towards the boss this time. So based on what you think your group is, you can hug here on the side of the wall. This bat group was really bad. I didn't trust them to keep pulling mobs, so I wanted to just to breathe here, pull them against the wall, hit them, right, and that's it. And then when I felt like they were, you know, not gonna fuck us over, I ended up pulling the other pat, but not the boss. So you're pulling the room, the ads, as little as possible, but not the boss. This is where you would stop. Right here. Okay, so ideally you're running towards this whole area until you get to this pack. You don't want to head towards the boss. That's the first Zerg Strat. And that's it. And as you can see, here's a nice place to put mobs. You can bash them right against that pillar there. So as you can see, everything's nicely organized, grouped up. This is ideal tanking here. Boys and girls right there. Bam. You know what I mean? Doesn't get any sweeter than that. There you go. Again, for those interested in my tank build and all my skills and specializations and armor, I will make another video, so please subscribe and like the video, comment, and I'll notify you when it comes out, because I haven't made it. And I didn't really know whether this guy would even be watched or successful, so that's it. This is a more controlled fight from the boss. Now we're just going to play it forward. Anyway, that's most of it. Those are the three options you have, all depending on, again, the Zerg Strat. The first one is depending on whether you just do big dick, big boy damage, and like it's a solid group. The strat we're doing here, where we're pulling the mobs and then the boss, that's your probably safest route. And then if you do have a bruiser, another guy with a sword and great sword, or you know, someone that's tanky that can tank on your behalf, you can do the suicide run. So up to you. I also prefer Zerg, or otherwise more of the slow poke gear thing we're doing. But this is really nice fight here. Everything's quite grouped up. You can certainly stun the boss instead of when he does that move right there. You can stun him because that just prevents your team from doing anything. And then making sure the dogs are all grouped on you. This is a very, very clean-cut fight. Anyway, most of you guys are probably here for the last boss, right? And the last boss essentially has only two major mechanics that you need to be aware of. But from a tank perspective, you only are concerned about one of them. Okay? So here we're going to go and we're going to swap towards the final boss, and I'll probably start more here. So first thing you want to do is make sure everyone is actually in the arena. If you start the boss fight, the circle of the arena closes them and they'll be gated outside from coming in. So number 2, Donzi here, would be able not to come in. So watch and make sure they're in. Once they're in, then you can start the fight. So we're going to taunt right away, do our high aggro abilities. Then we're going to pivot to doing a beacon here with a big smack, and then more playing defensively. So you want to keep the boss in the center of this map. You don't want to move him. You don't want to buy and get distance from him. You want to stay glued towards him. He's going to start spinning. When he does this, he's going to start doing some fire. You want to save, or acid. You want to save your Da Vinci's Courage around this area to help the healer and to, help the guys that are too stupid and slow to get out of the fire. So I always save it for that time. So what's going to happen is these, when he does do the summon, your team is obviously going to hopefully grab and hook on, ideally you have 2 flyers in case one of them fuck up, and they're going to go into this chandelier, and then the other 3 guys on the bottom, not you stay planted, tank, just pivoting away from the fire, they're going to pull water on him. Now, this is pretty much 95% of the time what's going to happen. He's going to spit acid or launch the fire. There's going to be a circle ability you're going to defend against. After that purple circle mechanic is done, that's when he's going to target someone and highlight them to be green. At that point, you need to stay in front of the boss and line of sight between you and that player. So there's 2 main ways you could go about this. Ideally, you take all 3 fireballs, and your healer ideally has fucking cleansed equipped as a skill, and they're going to essentially cleanse you after every fireball, because it's not the fireball damage that actually ends up killing you. It's the debuff of having those 3 stacks, the 3 fireball debuff stacks on you that completely fuck you over. Most of the time, nobody has cleanse, and you'd have to be a very good healer for them to be aware of, targeting you and then cleansing you with every fireball. So ideally, what you're just going to want to do is take the first 2 fireballs and then pivot away and let the person take the third. It happens every time. What happens is he's going to have that purple mechanic with the circle. You're going to block it. At that point, you're going to be essentially panning around and seeing who's going to get that green light on them. Now, when they get the green light on them, you're going to want to position yourself between yourself and the boss and them, right? So you're going to be in the middle. Now, hopefully they're not idiots, which DPS typically are. But if it's a DPS that's close range that has it, he needs to push back. He needs to pull away. You can't stack on, the fireball does AoE damage that stacks. So only you should be getting hit by that fireball. But anyway, let's go through the fight. So now you're going to prep essentially your cooldowns, right? As you can see, I have the, instead of the chain, I have the stalwart bastion, right, ability up. I also have my guardian up as well. But now I'm just waiting, right? I'm waiting for that to go off cooldown. You're going to go, right? You're going to do your damage. You're not going to pop your cooldowns yet, right? You're going to wait for that ability where he starts to go purple, right? With the purple block mechanic. Okay. So here you are. You don't need to be on guard yet. Okay, this is when it's going to start to happen. When he does the acid. right? Okay, hold on. He's gonna down. Okay, so now this is the purple circle mechanic. When this happens, you know he's going to highlight someone in green immediately afterwards. Okay, so you're gonna block this. Now you're panning to see who has it. As you can see, La Costa has it. He's melee. Hopefully he backs away, in which case he learns and he's smart and he does. And now what you're gonna do is pop your counter barrier. You're gonna wait. Now you're gonna pop your stalwart bastion for extra damage. You're gonna take 2. Then you're gonna use precision dash. He's gonna take the other. Then you dash back in, and that's it. Rinse and repeat. Again, it's a very common misconception that you always have to do that. If the healer has cleanse, you can take all 3 as long as he's cleansing you after every fireball hit. It literally trivializes the damage, but most of the time you're gonna be doing this strat. You're just simply gonna take, and then it's rinse and repeat, right? They're gonna fly up. They're gonna do the steel hooks. None of your concern. So as a tank, that's not your problem. Now I'm starting to pivot around. Now there are maybe 10% of the time he will not do the purple mechanic. If your DPS is fast enough, he'll actually forget the purple mechanic and he'll actually highlight someone. But every time he gets watered down like that, always kind of just be more on your guard and save your cooldowns, right? Now counter barrier has a lower cooldown, so don't worry about that so much. So here it is again, right? Purple mechanic. So you're gonna dodge. Now you're gonna be on guard. You're gonna watch and see who has it, right? So again, it's me so ducky. So it's their job too, also to watch themselves and to find out where you are and to help you position yourselves behind. Because oftentimes, right, like you turn the camera and you look back and it's hard to get an angle of line of sight directly. They're supposed to help you with standing behind you. So here I am. I pivot to him as fast as I can, right? And then here he's at his screen. So for any DPS that may be watching this or healer, this is what we have to deal with. I can't really see him unless I turn the camera and everything's moving around so fast. So ideally, the person behind you isn't an idiot. So here you go. You're going to take 2. Then you're going to just run away. You don't even have to dash. Then you're going to come back. Again, you want to stick to this boss as much as possible. You don't want him to move around from the center too much. If he pivots a little bit, don't worry. He's going to automatically go back to the center when he does his next mechanic, the fireball, when the guys are supposed to fly up. All right, so see, there he jumps back. Then he's going to do fireball. That's when people need to start flying. And, you use your Da Vinci's Courage here, right, to help people, help your healers if they get the dot damage on them. And there you go. He's watered. Ideally, if they do miss that, right, if they do miss the watering, he's going to blast the room with fire and acid. It's a wipe, basically, especially if 2 blasts go out. 1, max 2, but if 3, it's completely a wipe. So it's up to them, and it's their job to get that right. And here we go, right? We're now gonna start. He's gonna start spitting out acid and fire. Right, here comes the acid. Now that purple block is gonna come. Right, we're anticipating it. Right, sometimes though he may just start the fireball mechanic. So just be on guard. I'm waiting for my big cooldowns. Right, there's a counter barrier up. I'm not using it. There comes Stalwart Bastion up. I'm not going to use it. And then I have Da Vinci's Courage. I have everything I need to be tanky. Here it is. I'm going to block. Right, here comes the fireball. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, well, uncoordinated. We couldn't find it. It's okay. He took it. This is why you want to take the first 2. Some people will be like, oh, let me take the first. No, the first is like typically a complete one-shot for squishies. Another good strat you can do here as a tank is actually equip Blood Devotion that transfers damage onto you. If I had Blood Devotion, I would have clicked him, used it, and then that damage is transferred to me. So that's another pro tip if you want to use that skill instead. Not really required though. I like using stun. I like shocking them and giving them I like debuffing the boss so that we do more damage. I'd rather do that than become too tanky, right? We want to do some damage, right? We want to help out the team from a damage perspective as much as we can, as well from a debuff anyway. And then that's it, right? That's the fight. So you definitely don't want him to take the first fireball. As you can see, sometimes it's difficult to coordinate, like who had it there. So do your best in that regard. But the players should very much try to go towards you as well. They have gap closers. They should be helping you out in that regard as well. And then that's it. That's the fight. So again, very straightforward. Hopefully that that guide was helpful at all. I'll do a guide if this is successful. I'll certainly do a guide on the other dungeons and some tank tips and tricks. That's it, Jackoffs. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll catch you on the next one.